The time for you. Let's talk about, how busy it's been and why.
Well, September is a month of truth and reconciliation, and so I'm a truth and reconciliation specialist and a healer. So between speaking engagements and holding space for survivors, and I'm an intergenerational residential school survivor, and the Indigenous community, it was a heavy month for us with September 30th and our ceremony. So it was a busy month, and I mean, it's a really important work, and I'm honored to do it. But now I'm coming into a slower time.
Right.
And,
Jenny, tell me a little bit more about you as a healer and that process and how you help others.
Okay, well, I have I call a hybrid practice. It's psychotherapy.
Okay.
But I came into our Indigenous healing ceremonies and believe that's truly the way to heal forward. So I kind of bring both of those two together, those modalities. And we offer that at the Healing Lodge, where we also offer healing ceremonies, sacred fire ceremonies. We have a healing forest for residential school survivors. And we rent out space to other healers and to artists, which kind of brings us into this beautiful conference that's coming up.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yes.
Tell me about the conference.
So this is held by the Indigenous Arts Collective of Canada, which is founded by Dawn, who's very busy at the conference today, so she asked me to step in to do this interview. And it's really about helping our Indigenous people come back into the reclamation of our culture. And when she started the collective, it was really about preserving traditional art forms and revitalizing them and connecting women who don't have the means to connect to them. So these are all free workshops that we have, over this weekend. And we're able to really uplift Indigenous artists and, the gifts that they have with these tools and these ways that we are all just desperately trying to connect to.
What do those workshops entail?
So we have drum making, moccasin making, birch bark biting, beading. I'm wearing my dear friend's beadwork.
Beautiful.
And we just 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, before the pandemic, I went to the conference before I was a board member.
Okay.
And made my very first ribbon skirt. And it was just this moment of pride and healing. And so, we're so grateful now that we've kind of gotten through COVID that we can bring everyone together again and really empower the women to step into this really important space.
Well, and in an introduction of the culture and the art to the public as well, right?
Yes.
That's what the marketplace is all about at Saint Laurent Shopping Center. Tell me about that.
We have 80 vendors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Holy gee.
So come to Saint Laurent Mall and get your shopping on. So again, the pandemic, we lost our powwow trail. So all the Indigenous artists who look forward to the summer to sell didn't have that. So we created online auctions, and Dawn started Indigenous Artsy, which is, kind of the Etsy for Indigenous people, and helping people create websites so they can make an income. So it's introducing the public to our story boots and our moccasins and our jewelry and these sacred spiritual tools that we have that we want to share. And she also has cultural performances starting at 10 and the last one ending at 3 throughout the day, so people can really see about our dancing and our way of healing and gathering and honoring and celebrating.
Yeah, let's expand upon those performances, because there are different types of performances that people are going to see. What will they see?
So jingle dress dancing, which is a very healing dance, which most people recognize by the jingling of the cones on the dresses. And that one is just such a huge part of our healing. So it's a really beautiful way to kind of start the day, because we're very spiritual people, and everything we do in our art is ceremonial. And so it's really nice to bring everybody in and feel that and our connection to the spirit world and to the land, and why everything we do is so closely connected, which comes into the hoop dance.
Oh, I think it's my favorite. Yeah, you too?
Yeah.
It is amazing. It really is. Describe it. How would you, because it's a story, it's really storytelling, which we see a lot of, right?
They have the sacred hoops that they use. So our spiritual framework is about, we all exist within the sacred hoop of life. We're all in this eternal web, intimately and energetically connected to each other in all things, right? So not just each other's humans, but the animals, the minerals, the land, and everything else. And so it really is about helping people understand this cyclical way we exist with nature, and how we should all respectfully and harmoniously exist with nature. And so a lot of the dances, they will mimic animals and stuff in nature. So you might see an eagle, right, where they bring all the hoops out into their arms, and it's just beautiful. It's a real,
as part of it as well.
Yeah. And it's moving, right? And you just feel really connected. You really are reminded of your interconnectedness to all things.
And I find it amazing that we're having these conversations because, you know, when we think of climate change, who should we be talking to but Indigenous people who have been doing these teachings for, you know, for centuries now, right?
And I think that's, you know, I was just chatting with them in the green room about the prophecies, our Anishinaabe prophecies, actually Indigenous prophecies around the world talked and spoke to these times, that there would be chaos, there would be tornadoes and virus and all this upheaval, right? Because the way we've been living on the land hasn't been in a good way collectively, right? So she's been struggling. And so we as Indigenous people, there is kind of a resurgence right now, and we need people to understand as land stewards and water protectors, you know, what we're here to do, why we need to come together in healing and care for her as the mother she is.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful time to get people to come to these sort of events so they understand more about who we are and why we have these sacred ties.
Do you think people are starting to listen finally? I know we still have a long way to go, but are you encouraged at all?
I am encouraged.
Okay.
I work with a lot of allies and non-Indigenous people, and last year when our babies were recovered at Kamloops Residential School, we finally really had Canada's attention. And so last year it was when we hosted the first September 30th Remember Me ceremony in the Hill for people to acknowledge that there's been a war against Indigenous people here and correlated to a war against the land. So we all need each other to exist here harmoniously. So I do feel hope. You know, these last couple of years, Canada's finally stepping into those calls to action. Remind
everybody how they can, you know, check everything out at the Saint Laurent Shopping Center when it's happening and the times.
So, I mean, the marketplace will be there all like through the store hours.
Yeah.
But at 10 in the morning, the first cultural performance starts, and at 3, the last one. And yeah, there's vendors throughout, so people will just be in awe, as I am, because it's my favorite place to go for shopping when there's a powwow or all the Indigenous people are there with their crafts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll be back with more after this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.